Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jararanjanan Yashodanandana Braja Jararanjanan Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jararanjanan Yashodanandana Braja Jararanjanan Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Radhe Jaya Jaya Jagannath 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 Jaya Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jaya Baladev, 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 Jaya Jaya Baladev. Jaya Jaya Subhadra, 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 Jaya Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Gornitai, 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 Jaya Jaya Gornitai. Nitai Guru Haribol, 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 Nitai Guru Haribol. Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Nitai Guru Haribol. It must be me, but we sound totally frozen inside here. It's cold outside. I know it is. But as I said, we're going to be reading from Canto 10, Chapter 13, Text 16 through 27. And it's a very nice chapter. And when I get an opportunity, I try to listen to the two speakers before so that I can get a feeling of the mood that we're going in. As far as the direction of the scriptures. So I try to stay in line with that. And I must say I enjoy the speakers, but I enjoyed Prabhupada Priya, her talk on the experience of Krishna sitting down with the cowherd boys. Very sweet. You almost felt like you were there. And then Prem Chandra, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, both of them together reminded me that this is such a mood of devotee care, really extreme devotee care. So I like that. I like it's going in that direction. As a matter of fact, my humble mind feels that the entire scriptures are addressed to some form of devotee care, showing us how things are, how to respond to them, how to react, how to relate. It's all there in the scriptures. So reading from text 16, but before we do that, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Sheva Naratam Devam. Sorry if I'm reading it out of place. Sarasvatam Vyastato Jayamudarat Yat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta priyas abhadreshu nityam Bhagavata sevam Bhagavati utam sloka bhaktir bhavati nashtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Very sweet. These are very important points to remember when we are embarking upon reading scripture. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gananjanan Chalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I always have to remind myself, no matter what's going on, and we should too, especially when we think we know everything, that I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my most humble respects and obeisances to my spiritual master. So who would like to start out by reading from text 16?
Thereafter, when Krishna was unable to find the cows, he returned to the bank of the river, but there he was also unable to see the cowherd boy. Thus he began to search for both the cows and boys, as if he could not understand what had happened.
Next, anyone?
When Krishna was unable to find the cows and their caretakers, the cowherd boys, anywhere in the forest, he could suddenly understand that this was the work of Lord Brahma.
Thereafter, just to create pleasure both for Brahma and for the mothers of the cows and cowherd boys, Krishna, the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation, expanded himself as calves and boys.
By his Vasudev feature, Krishna simultaneously expanded himself into the exact number of missing cowherd boys and calves, with their exact bodily features, their particular types of hands, legs, and other limbs, their sticks, bugles, flutes, their lunch bags, their particular types of dress, and ornaments placed in various ways, their names, ages, and forms, and their special activities and characteristics. By expanding himself in this way, beautiful Krishna proved the statement, Samagra Jagad Vishnu Mayam, Lord Vishnu is all-pervading.
Now expanding himself so as to appear as all the calves and cowherd boys, all of them as they were, and at the same time, appear as their leader, Krishna entered Vrajabhumi, the land of his father Nanda Maharaj, just as he usually did while enjoying their company.
O Maharaj Parikshit, Krishna, who had divided himself as different calves and also as different cowherd boys, entered different cowsheds as the calves, and then different homes as different boys.
The mothers of the boys, upon hearing the sounds of the flutes and bugles being played by their sons, immediately rose from their household tasks, lifted their boys onto their laps, embraced them with both arms, and began to feed them with their breast milk, which flowed forth because of extreme love specifically for Krishna. Actually, Krishna is everything, but at that time, expressing extreme love and affection, they took special pleasure in feeding Krishna, the Parabrahman, and Krishna drank the milk from his respective mothers as if it were a nectarian beverage.
Thereafter, O Maharaj Parishik, as required according to the scheduled round of his pastimes, Krishna returned in the evening, entered the house of each of the cowherd boys, and engaged exactly like the former boys, thus enlivening their mothers with transcendental pleasure. The mothers took care of the boys by massaging them with oil, bathing them, smearing their bodies with sandalwood pulp, decorating them with ornaments, chanting protective mantras, decorating their bodies with tilak, and giving them food. In this way, the mothers serve Krishna personally.
Thereafter, all the cows entered their different sheds and began mooing loudly, calling for their respective calves. When the calves arrived, the mothers began licking the calves' body again and again and profusely feeding them with the milk flowing from their milk bags.
Previously, from the very beginning, the gopis had motherly affection for Krishna. Indeed, their affection for Krishna exceeded even their affection for their own sons. In displaying their affection, they had thus distinguished between Krishna and their sons. But now that distinction disappeared.
Mm.
Although the inhabitants of Rajbhumi, the cowherd men and cowherd women, previously had more affection for Krishna than for their own children, now, for 1 year, their affection for their own sons continuously increased, for Krishna had now become their sons. There was no limit to the increment of their affection for their sons, who were now Krishna. Every day they found new inspiration for loving their children as much as they loved Krishna.
In this way, Lord Krishna, having himself become the cowherd boys and groups of calves, maintained himself by himself. Thus he continued his pastimes both in Vrindavan and in the forest for 1 year.
Jai. Absolutely amazing to take time and to read and to understand how totally amazing, miraculous, omnipotent the Lord is. Sometimes it's even difficult to wrap your mind around what he does and what he's capable of, but why not? When you are situated very nicely in devotional service, bhakti yoga, you will eventually come to understand, if you are doing this practice properly, your sadhana is good, you'll come to understand that these experiences that we read of are actually true, and you may even be blessed with the opportunity to experience that rasa, that relationship with Krishna. That's the sweetness of reading from the scriptures, repeating, understanding, and living the scriptures. It's like you become part, which we are, part and parcel of the Lord. But in text 16, first of all, we understand that no one, absolutely no one, can do anything that Krishna is not aware of. That no, Brahma, even though this was something that Brahma needed to find out for himself, is this really Krishna? You can't hide anything from Krishna. So we do understand this pastime was for Brahma, for the mothers, and ultimately it's for us too to understand the different situations, relationships that take place. And there's always something to learn from it. And as I said, any of us can read the scriptures, the translations, the purport. And as long as we can grasp the essence of what we're reading, we are all allowed to have our own understanding of it. And that's what makes reading from the scriptures so unique. When anyone comes to read, you give your own spin of what it is you understand. And hopefully there is something today that I say, if not but a sentence or word, that you can take away and use and understand. And practice in your life. At least that is my goal, that you will get something from what has been read. So in text 16, it speaks about Krishna not being unable to find the calves, the boys. We know that's not true, but this is for us. So we understand this is like a play, like a story that's being played out. And in text 16, yes, it goes on to speak of Krishna not being able to find the calves and their caretakers. He's playing out the scene. Translation for text 18, and it expresses and makes a point that this is all for the pleasure of Brahma and the mothers, and later we will find out how much pleasure and how it impacts the mothers. And what I find so interesting is that in one particular action, Krishna is able to satisfy so many different scenarios. In our lives, sometimes those scenarios can play out in our minds as very sweet, very positive. And in another sense, sometimes it comes in as negative. But ultimately, everything that happens for a reason. And if we stay focused and we understand the scriptures, chant for the purification of understanding, whatever the ultimate result is, it is always for the good, for our benefit. Sometimes it doesn't seem like that, but it is. But in this situation, it is good. And in all situations, it's good. Let's see, text 19, that's one we're going to cover, so let's skip to 20. It speaks again of Krishna expanding himself and becoming the boys, all the experiences that they would have. He's entering Vrajabhumi, he's entering Vrindavan, the home of his parents, and it's like a story that we're watching. Let's see. And it speaks of the sweetness, the pleasure potency, the Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, that Krishna always seems to reveal if our thought process and our understanding is clear enough. There is some sweetness to whatever is happening. And sometimes it may take a long time in Krishna consciousness to understand what is happening. Whatever it is, there is some sweetness to it. That takes a while to really get to that point sometimes. At least it was for me. Let's see, going on to text 21, it speaks of, again, how Krishna's dividing himself into the cowherd boys, the calves, and he's taking on all the different features of the boys. Text 22. This is where this experience of this rasa that's going on is not only benefiting Lord Brahma, but it's benefiting the mothers. Every mother, if she is focused on Krishna consciousness, would love, maybe we may not express it, but some of us would love to have Krishna as a son. So here the mothers are having an opportunity to wash, to bathe, to feed, to massage, to decorate, to do all the things that they would do for their sons, but somehow there's such intense sweetness because whether they realize it or not, they're actually bathing the Lord. So sweet, so very sweet. Text 23. Yes, it goes on to, yes, this section also goes on to just give the details of how the mothers are caring so nicely for them, for their sons. And the part that really, the part that really got my attention is, let's see how we're going to say this so that it doesn't, so that it impacts nicely. But there are different points in the scriptures where what we hear happens, or what we hear someone say the scriptures is about. Every now and then we'll get a taste of the real relationship that Krishna has with both the sexes, male and female. And here it speaks of how he is treating the milk, the intimacy of the nursing, the breastfeeding. He's treating the milk from the mother as nectarian. Now, how sweet is that? How important that is. Never ever think that Krishna distinguishes, well, not so much distinguishes, but he prefers one particular sex over the other. We're all one sex. We come here, and we're all feminine to some degree. But every now and then, you'll get a glimpse of the relationship that Krishna feels and has for the female image, for the mother image, as well as the respect and the love that he has for the male image. But I find that really spoke to me. That really got my attention, and I thought, no matter what anyone says, Krishna loves us all. Let's see, text 25 and 26, still talking about the rasa. And we have to understand that even though Krishna is taking all of these different relationships and doing all of these particular actions, and Brahma is thinking that he's got one up on Krishna, we have to understand that Krishna is, what is it called, Viswavid. He is all-knowing. And that point really got my attention also, because when we understand the scriptures and we understand how omnipotent, how multifaceted, how ultimately powerful Krishna is, how he sees everything and how he knows everything, what really blows my mind, and that's an old saying, but what really blows my mind is that when we understand the scriptures and we know all of these things about Krishna, sometimes, unfortunately, we tend to do things that are not in line with the scriptures. I mean, the instructions, everything, how to live your life is in the scriptures. We read it, we understand it, and we know Krishna sees everything. He knows our next move before we take it, but yet and still we do nonsense. That part always confuses me, but, you know, I don't control the world, but it's just one of those things that are really interesting in the scriptures to realize. And when you understand that, you understand, even though there may be things that you may want to change in the world, and there are a lot of things that are going on in the world that we want to change, understand that Krishna sees it all, and in his own time, in his own frame, he will make the necessary moves. But again, as I said, everything that's happening right now is happening for a purpose, inside these walls and outside the wall. So never lose heart of, you know, thinking that things are out of control. They're very much in control. And even here, when Brahma is thinking that he can trick Krishna, there is no such thing as tricking Krishna. And we also have to understand we can't pull the wool over Krishna's eyes. We can't fool him with our behavior. The best possible thing is to try to live within the guidelines of the scriptures and to live a life in such a way that for those that are initiated, that as we live a life knowing and understanding that our guru sees everything. He knows everything that we're doing. And above all else, Krishna knows what we're doing. And when we have that understanding, how totally blissful the world would be, because we would be totally in line with, to minimize the description of it, God consciousness. It is so simple, but sometimes the most simple things to do are the most complicated. So I'm trying to stay within the line of the time, so I'll go back and read. I was looking at text 19, and the rhythm of the scriptures and quoting it, I may not get it right, but Krishna doesn't grade me on it. It doesn't, it's not so important, but it's an interesting one. Text 19. Before I focus on this, I always like to give propers to my guru and Srila Prabhupada, of course. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namane. Namaste Krishna Prabhupada Astrayatmane Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Swami Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachanani Nivasesha Sunyavadi Bhaksita Desha. Jaya Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Hashivasati Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now let's tackle this. Yavad Vatsapa Vatsa Kalpa Kal Pakavapur Yavad Karangari Adikam Yavad Yasti Vishanat Vinu Delasig Yavad Vibhusambaram Yavad Chila Guna Bidakriti Vayo Yavad Viharadikam Savad Vishnu Mayam Jiroga Varajasava Swarupa Babo. Now we usually do this 3 times, so I am doing it once and I'm putting it out to one of you to repeat after you take it and read. Who would like to tackle it? Yavad Baragarim Damadikam Yavad Yasti Vishana Vinu Dalasig Yavan Vibhushabaram. Yavat Shila Guna Bidakrito Vayo Yavat Vihavradikam. Sava Vishnu Mayam Giro Gavad Jav Sarva Swarupa Babo. Yavat Vatsam Vatsat Kalpaka Vapur Yavat Karangari Adikam. Yavat Yasti Vishana Venudala Yavat Vibhusha Baram. Yavat Chila Guna Vidagriti Vayo Yavat Viharadikam. Savad Vishnu Mayam Giro Gavad Sarva Sarupa Babo. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm totally impressed with the children in the community. They're so young and they take this upon it with seriousness. And I see that it doesn't affect their ego. They're very good. They're very, very learned. So to the parents and the parents of children that are so capable of doing this, please keep them in this mood and understanding, because at some point, what they're reading, they're going to grasp. They're probably grasping it now, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject like this, but I'm always impressed when the kids do this. Very important. Did someone else want to read, or? Yes. Go ahead. Yes, you can read that. Yavat vatsa vatsa kalpaka papur yavat karangari adikam. Yavat yasti vishana venu dalasig yavat vibhush sambaram. Yavat shila guna bikade kriti vayo yavat vihara dikam. Savat Vishnu Mayam Gira Gavadaja Sava Sarupa Babo. Thank you. Word for word. Yavat Vatsapa. Exactly like the cowherd boys. Vatsaka Alpaka Vapuhu. And exactly like the tender bodies of the calves. Yavat Kara Angri Adikam. Exactly to the measurement of their particular varieties of legs and hands. Exactly to the measurement. Yavat Yasti Bishana Vinu Dalaksik. Not only like their bodies, but exactly like their bugles, flutes, sticks, lunch bags, and so on. Yavat Vibhusha Ambaram. Exactly like their ornaments and dress, in all their varied particulars. Yavat Sila Guna Abida Akrita Vayaha. Their exact character, habits, features, attributes, and explicit bodily features. Yavad Vihara Adikam. Exactly according to their taste or amusements. Savam. Everything in detail. Vishnumayam. Expansions of Vasudev. Vishnu. Vishnu. Gira Angavat. Voices exactly like theirs. Ajaha. Krishna. Savasarupa Babo. Created everything in detail as himself. without any change. The translation here: by his Vasudeva feature, Krishna simultaneously expanded himself in the exact number of missing cowherd boys and calves, with their exact bodily features, their particular types of hands, legs, and other limbs, their sticks, bugles, and flutes, their lunch bags, their particular types of dress and ornaments placed in various ways, their names, ages, and forms, and their special activities and characteristics. By expanding himself in this way, beautiful Krishna proved the statement, Samagra Jagat Vishnumayam. Lord Vishnu is all-pervading. Purport: as stated in Brahma Samhita 5.33, Advaita Achutam Anandam Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Nava Yovanam Cha. Krishna, Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is Adyam, the beginning of everything. He is Adi Purusham, the ever-youthful original person. He can expand himself in more forms than one could imagine. Yet, he does not fall down from his original form as Krishna. Therefore, he is called Achyuta. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat, Sarvam Kalividam Brahma. Krishna thus proved that he is everything, that he can become everything, but that still he is personally different from everything. Matstani Sarvam Bhutani Nachaham Cheshavastitam. This is Krishna, who is understood by Achitya Beda Tattva philosophy. Punasha Puranam Adyam Punam Aveveshitam. Krishna is always complete, and although he can create millions of universes, all of them full in all opulences, he remains as opulent as ever, without any change, Advaitam. This is explained by different Vaishnavacharyas through philosophies such as Visuddha Advaita, Vistidadvaita, Dvaita Advaita. Therefore, one must learn about Krishna from the Acharyas. Acharyavan Purusha Veda. One who follows the path of the Acharyas knows things as they are. Such a person can know Krishna as he is, at least to some extent. And as soon as one understands Krishna, Janma Kama Chamne Divyam Evam Yoveti Tatvata, one is liberated from material bondage. Tattva Deham Puna Janma Neti Mam Eti So Juna. This, of course, we're always getting an opportunity to learn and understand. Well, we'll never completely understand Krishna. Even the demigods do not understand him. But always he gives us a little glimpse of who he is, what he's capable of, and he plants leelas and stories along the way. And here in this particular point, the Brahma stealing the boys and the calves, we understand that was Brahma trying to figure out, is this really Krishna? You know, here's this omni-powerful, omni-everything Lord, but yet he's sitting down and he's having a lunch with some cowherd boys, and all of the etiquette that we would ordinarily exercise when we're sitting down and eating. He's not doing any of those things, but he's enjoying himself. Everyone is sitting and they want his attention, but yet and still, they're communicate among themselves. They're playing, they're having a good time, they're joking. The one thing that connects them all is Krishna. That is the focus. And I thought about us, the entire ISKCON movement. And I know for a fact that sometimes I overdo this, so I'm going to minimize how much I say this. But he's showing the example of how to care. The boys, the cowherd boys, do not really realize this is Krishna. But the point is, Krishna drops his guard, for lack of a better description, and he enjoys with them. He creates the atmosphere where they can enjoy. This is puzzling to Brahma, but it should not be puzzling to us. Krishna is capable of anything and everything. If we could copy this mood among the other lessons that are in the scriptures, and there are lessons and instructions, and there's something to learn every time we're reading from the scriptures. If we could just get the essence of this mood of care and set a foundation, because no relationship is going to take off or go anywhere until you have that foundation of care and love. I don't care what you put on top of it. You could put some of the biggest programs on top. Doesn't matter. If you don't have the foundation, whatever you try to rise above and do without establishing this type of focus, it won't work. In all the years that I've been on this planet, I've seen different relationships, and I've been so fortunate to come across the devotees and to really understand what life is about. But I don't know of anything that works until you establish this type of foundation, even between mother and child, between husband and wife, significant other. Until you establish that relationship, that bond, that foundation, whatever you put on top of it is going to crumble. Now, that's my humble understanding. But as I said, we understand that Krishna can do everything, but yet and still he remains the powerful, potent Krishna. That's a Chitnya Beta Beta Tattva philosophy. That's that part of him, the oneness and the differentness. He can be here, he can be there, but yet and still he is still Krishna with all the power and potencies that he has. And sometimes you will find individuals that have totally lost their minds, and they try to imitate Krishna. No one can imitate him. No one can be him. We have been blessed to have the opportunity to read, to understand who our most intimate lover is, who our protector is, who our Lord is. And when you gradually take all of this into account, try to practice some of the things that is necessary to form the relationships that you hear of in the scriptures. Everything that is happening today, anything that can happen, has already happened. It's already happened. We get the opportunity to see, not only in this world, but we get to read of various situations and how they've been resolved. So actually, there is no excuse for me or for any of us to have a scenario or situation that we can't handle. It has taken me many years to get to a point where I can say I trust Krishna, because I was born in a Christian background, and my parents set the groundwork, but I have to say that I have gotten so much more from the Krishna conscious movement. Not that I didn't get it as a foundation, but I have come to understand so much more about life, about individuals, about what can happen, about how to handle things that happen. And you're constantly learning in this movement. No one ever knows everything. No one. No one. I don't care how proficient you are in reading the scriptures, how you intellectualize the scriptures, how you analyze. No one knows everything and gets it perfectly right. I find sometimes the best approach is the most simple. It's being humble. It's being surrendered. And that is a very powerful position to be in, because we think if you have humility, if you're humble, you're weak. That is such a strong position to come from. But you only realize it when you were in that position. And all through the scriptures, as I said, we've given so many scenarios, so many lessons, and the ultimate conclusion that the scriptures will lead us to is, here, I've laid it out for you. This is what life could always be about. It's everything you'll know. You decide. Do you come to me, or do you stay in illusion? And sometimes even knowing all of this information, we still use the path of going in the complete opposite direction. Being in illusion, not properly following. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I don't always do all the things all the time, but the great part about it is that Krishna is so understanding. He's so compassionate. He's so loving. He gives us so many opportunities to get it right. And then if we really don't get it right, he gives us the opportunity to take another body. So we like to think that knowing all this information, having it, and having so many different takes on the scriptures, when you have a different speaker here, you're always able to get something from it. So my humble request is, listen. Listen with your heart. Listen with your ears. Sometimes we have to get out of the way of the information that we're getting. Take time out and understand the scriptures and try to be the best you can possibly be. And if you're not quite there yet, Krishna is loving and understanding. He gives you many opportunities. But as I said, when I was reading this, and I was listening to the two speakers before, it just reminded me of devotee care. So that is what I got from it. And please forgive me if I rambled on, but I'll get thoughts and I'll pull them from the air and I'll toss them at you and hope they come together and make sense. But just based on what we've read, just based on what you've read, because I know you're reading this before we come here. Does anyone want to share a thought, a realization, anything that you might have to say about what was read? All right. Thank you so much for coming, for being here this morning, because you all had opportunities to be somewhere else, but you chose to be in association with Krishna. And I hope that there's something that you can think about and take away from what was said today. So thank you so much. I missed that quiet voice. It was so quiet when you were gone, Mother Kunti.
Oh, okay.
You're back.
Mother Antaryami,
Yes,
thank you
please.
so much for bringing the Srimad Bhagavatam class to our practical day-to-day life. Thank you for helping digest the love that is so intense that we're reading right now.
Thank you so much for being blunt and just sharing your feelings. I like that. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Shri Shri Radhakala Chandridam ki jai, ki jai, ki jai, Vaishnavs ki jai, Vaishnavis ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasanjubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.